So what's the name of your guys' podcast?
Well, that is actually a really awesome question. We have thrown around a bunch of different names and we've been kind of finding our niche, I guess you could say. And I think our end game is going to be to mostly talk to people like yourself, people that have owned. And really, we want it to be transitioning people from associates to owners,
Cool.
but mostly talking through the lens of people that have done that transition themselves, since
Yeah.
neither Alex or myself has owned a practice yet.
Cool. Yeah, happy to talk with you guys. I don't have any time restraint, so this can be short, this can be long. As long as you guys have questions, I can talk. I did a live seminar for Practice Biopsy in October now, 2 months ago, and I spoke for almost 10 hours, so I can go as long as you guys want. So Practice Biopsy started actually just as a vlog. So I made a Facebook group and it was just a day in the life. So it's like, hey guys, today's my first day at the office. I've got 5 patients and this is how it went. And hey guys, it's the second day in the office. And I just did that for a while. And it was just kind of like a behind the scenes vlog for a couple years. And then about 3 years ago, I started taking things a little more seriously, because I really have a passion for teaching, and honestly, I'd be a dental school instructor, but they don't pay enough, and I don't want to work for the dental school.
Yeah.
Because,
I
all
hear
the
you
things
there.
that come with the dental school, there's a lot of things that I'm not happy with, and you can't really change how the dental school runs. So I leveraged it into being able to open a continuing education company. So we offer continuing education training programs that are AGD certified for CE credits. And I've written books that have done pretty well in the dental community, live CE seminars, and different things to help support dentists on the journey through practice ownership.
What a beautiful thing that you've dug into. And frankly, kind of our story is very similar. We're way further behind than you are. But
No,
yeah, it
I love
started
what you
out
guys
as
are
just
doing.
kind of posting and being like, here's my opinion, take it or leave it.
Mhm.
And then we've kind of been niching down into more contracts, associate agreements, stuff like that. But love to see that growth.
I loved your post the other day about just like a bad associate contract. Where
Yeah.
like
Yeah. I feel like we always hear,
they end up owing the owner money, right? Yeah,
yeah. So with the
those are
draw type
real.
contracts, you could end up in a big deficit. And yeah, it sounds like you read it, but the whole thing was like, hey, it might not even be your fault that you might be getting burned. I had the 100% of the staff turnover twice. I had people literally calling my patients MFers to their face
Yeah.
that were in the office. Yeah, hard to do dentistry when that's going on around you. Things that I had no control over, had to end up showing all that to the regional director. But yeah, kind of getting
Yeah,
through that.
there's
So
a lot
that's
more to
exactly
being a
what we're
dentist than prepping a tooth, right?
1000%.
The most profound things are things that you know already,
Mhm.
but when you hear it, especially from someone who's done it, everyone says that is the least important thing. Obviously, you have to be a good dentist. It's almost the base. It is everything else that matters.
Yeah, it's the
How you
base.
deal with Not even how you deal with people, how you deal with your staff. I'm having troubles working in a DSO because I've been doing this for 7 months.
Mhm.
I barely know anything. It's like the blind leading the
Congratulations.
blind. Thank you.
Welcome to the
I
profession.
appreciate it. Yeah, and it's like the blind leading the blind, and I'm trying to teach because the assistants have been doing things a certain way. The front
Mhm.
desk has been doing things a certain way, and I thought joining a DSO, the S stands for support, where they should, or even systems, they should have
Yeah.
all these things, and I'm finding that they don't. I'm like, all right, I have to do it then.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing, and I feel like that is everyone's fear about practice ownership, because I'm looking into buying a practice and all my friends are like, do it, best decision. It's a headache, but
Yeah.
are you first generation or are your parents Americans?
First generation dentist.
Yeah, I'm a first generation dentist. I'm also a first generation American. So like immigrant parents, no language, work half as hard as they do. So
Right.
I am not averse to hard work. And everyone's like, if you have that mentality, as I'm sure all 3 of us do, you'll be fine.
Yeah,
Right.
you're gonna
Like
be just fine.
yeah. So tell us your journey in the practice. You do own a practice, right?
Yeah, so my journey to practice ownership is pretty unique, which is probably a part of why my vlogging caught on. I opened my dental practice as a startup, as a school project. So I was still in dental school. So my second year of dental school, I had determined the name of the office and designed the logo and bought the web domain. The third year of dental school, I wrote my business plan and marketing plan and did my demographic research. My fourth year of dental school, I applied for startup loans, got approved for my startup loans, and we started building the office. When I got out of school, the construction wasn't done. So I associated for a little bit while the construction finished, and then I went straight into my startup.
What
Baller.
gave you that confidence?
Honestly, my school project. So at the University of Michigan where I went, everyone has to do a thesis project to graduate. It can be any topic that you want. So most people would pick a topic like how to find MB2 or understanding some weird periodontal bacteria. And I made my thesis project, how to own and operate a dental office. So I got credit in my class curriculum to spend 4 years learning how to own and operate a dental office. And then I just did my project.
Nice.
Okay,
And you could
that's
ask a bunch of faculty and stuff.
Well,
Yeah,
I didn't even ask faculty. I got time in the schedule to go to dental offices around the state and spend time there and interview them and sit with the receptionist, sit with the office manager, sit with the dentist, go through their financial books and see how it all worked. And then I compiled that into my project, and that was my guide for building the office, designing the office, and running the office.
That is
Did
crazy. unique.
anyone, first of all, I guess, of your peers and then of faculty think that was a bad idea, tell you that it was a bad idea?
No, because there was no stipulation that I actually had to succeed in opening an office. It would have met the requirement of the project just to do the research and present.
I don't mean for the project.
Oh,
I
to
mean
actually do it?
Yeah,
I think they all probably thought it was a bad idea. Except for one of my peers was kind of in the same line I was, and he pretty much bought a practice right out of school. Everyone else
That's
did the
awesome.
associate thing for a couple years or longer or still.
Yeah.
Or still.
I wanted to, it's been burning a hole in my head. It's going to bounce us back a little bit, but
Yeah.
you had mentioned, and it looks like you had written 3 books. Is that true? Or is there more than that?
So I've written a couple books. Between undergrad and dental school, I co-authored a book with someone who's a dermatologist now, and it was called Undeniable. It was the guide to get into medical and dental school. It is currently out of
Cool.
print. You can't buy it. But that was
Okay.
good. It was fairly successful. There was a point where it was selling more than the Kaplan Guide, the Princeton Guide, and the Barron's Guide. And it was my spending money
Wow.
during dental school.
Nice.
But it's out of print. Again, you can't buy it anymore.
Okay.
And then I have like a compilation book, which is it's just about basically my blog posts over the course of a year, which you can
Okay.
read. It's called Bite Size Wisdom. And then this
I
book
thought
right
I saw
here,
that one.
You Don't Know What You Don't Know. That is my like magnum opus for the time being. So that is an 800-page book that I wrote.
Oh, baby.
It always irritated me when faculty or older people would say, "You don't know what you don't know," instead of just telling me what I didn't know. So that book is 7 lessons for a life in dentistry, the things that I wish someone told me. And I also interviewed 20 plus of my mentors for that book. And those interviews are all recorded and available. And I compiled the things that they wish someone told them and they would tell someone younger. And it's all organized in that book. That book debuted #1 on 3 different categories on Amazon when we put it out. It's like $15 on Amazon for a hard copy, but if you want a digital copy, the digital copy is free. You can go to practicebiopsy.com, get the digital copy for free. And I priced this book on Amazon. They have a certain pricing structure where they get their cut and then you get the difference. I priced it at exactly what their cut is. So for every book copy I sell, I don't even make 1 penny. It's the absolute minimum price I can do for a hard copy book based on an 800-page book. So I make $0 from that book. It was a passion project.
That's really cool. So we have a book that's for sale about getting an associateship, but
Nice.
similar thing is
Tony
it's
has
by
a book.
Yeah,
I don't have a book. Tony
Alex
has
read
a
it
book.
and he helped me with it a little bit. Yeah. But no, similar thing. It was my passion project. I remember thinking like, man, everyone gets burned by these associateships. I'm going to just throw this out there and see what happens.
Yeah.
And same, it's as cheap as it can. I don't make any money off of that. So, you mentioned your unique story, and that's kind of, it debuted #1 on 3 things. Like, I almost sometimes can't even give the book away.
It's
like,
a
how
very
did
small
you-
niche, very small category. So you don't need to sell that many in the professional studies category to be #1.
Well, yeah, but like, I guess, how do you think it was your name brand recognition, or
It
How
was
did you get
the
people to
supportive
know that they
dental
wanted the
community.
book?
It was the relationships
Okay.
that I made over the years, with all the
Okay.
dentists who I've been fortunate to get to know so well through the Practice Biopsy
Hmm.
group. The Practice
Okay.
Biopsy
Okay.
Facebook group, we've got between 5 and 6,000 dentists in there, and I talk to many of them very regularly, and they really very much are a community to me. Because we're dentists, we especially if you're a solo practitioner like me. I mean, I'm just in a bubble
Hmm.
with my staff at work all day, and I don't really see other dentists other than my wife, who's a public health dentist. But other than that, I don't see other professionals that do this job.
Regularly.
So having the community that Practice Biopsy has built has given me a circle of peers that I can always relate to and give back to in the ways that I can.
Yeah, no, and that's and for being professionals, I mean, what is there like 4,400 graduates a year?
Yeah,
I mean, that's a pretty good proportion of people.
yeah.
Kudos to you for that. That's really nifty. Yeah, so I'm going to be buying a book. I love that. Where do you live, actually?
Michigan,
We'll
I live
delete
in
this
Ann
out of the
Arbor,
podcast.
Michigan.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Gorgeous.
go blue.
You just do you didn't want to leave? Are you from that area
I'm from this
originally?
area, yeah, which made it
Okay.
easy. So I had to know where I was going to live to do my school project, basically. Because a lot of people, they
Oh,
move
yeah.
back home or they move different places after dental school. I was already getting the ball going before I even finished.
Yeah,
And
that's
you met your
incredible.
wife
In
when?
dental school. The state of Michigan has 2 different dental schools. She went to the other dental school, and we met during our dental school experience.
I see.
Okay.
So 3 books, open to practice before you got out of dental school, essentially.
Mm.
You are obviously cut
I
from
did have a
different cloth.
layover period. So with a startup, and this is something that you should keep in mind. So
Right.
if you do a startup, you should have an associate job on the side, because on day 1, you have 0 patients, which means 0
Mhm.
revenue on day 1, and you build it up. I was working, when I opened my startup, officially started seeing patients, I was working 3 days at my office, and then I was still working 3 days at my associate job. My associate job that I ended up at was fantastic. I had a great, great, great employer. I was happy to work with him and for him during that time. He was very supportive of me. But before I worked for him, I did work for corporate for 2.5 days. I had a 1-year contract.
Oh,
I had a 1-year contract with corporate, and I didn't think I'd be there a full year, but I figured I'd figure it out. But I thought I'd be there longer than 2.5 days. And I'm halfway
yeah.
through the 3rd day, I just talked to the guy, and it's like, I don't want to work here. And I don't know if you want me here, knowing that I don't want to be here every day. And he was basically like, you don't need to come back. And I didn't have a plan. So I actually started going door to door to dental offices. And I just walked in and said, do you guys need a dentist? And eventually someone said, no, but my son does. And then I ended up working at his office while my practice finished construction. And then we ramped up. I did 3 days and 3 days, then 4 days and 2, and then just full time at my office.
What
Okay.
was
And we
Taking
did
that.
very,
that
very well
like
from the first year.
getting your first patients? How did you get them in the door?
So
And how
we
do you
so we opened to pretty much a full schedule, meaning a full schedule of the hours we were open. So we were open 2.5 days a week. And that schedule was pretty much full when we opened. I worked at my associate job a lot longer than I financially needed to because I really liked the people there. And I enjoyed that professional relationship there. As far as getting our schedule full, I started marketing way before we opened. I'm building brand awareness
Okay.
in the community, getting myself known in the community, and we leaned heavily into Facebook ads. Couldn't hire. I looked at big marketing companies. Big marketing companies wanted like $30,000 to run a marketing campaign, and all I had financially was like my leftover student loan money in my account. I didn't have a budget, so I just did a lot of ground marketing and Facebook marketing. So Facebook marketing was very
Mhm.
cheap when you know how to run the ads properly. It's not complicated. And I did groundwork. So I volunteered at different community events. I went to like the retirement home. I met the local business owners and I interviewed them. I interviewed the flower shop owner and talked to the gym owner. On Sunday mornings, I got a goodie bag with a toothbrush and floss and a bag of hot chocolate because it's cold in Michigan. And I walked through the neighborhoods for 2 and 3 hours for 5 or 6 weeks in a row. And I knocked on doors and I introduced myself and I said, "Hi, I'm the new dentist downtown. Nice to meet you." And I did that, and then we filled our schedule.
Wow.
how did you teach yourself all of this? I know people teach themselves Facebook ads.
Sure.
you know, like getting out, everyone says get out into the community. You kind of have an idea and you seem like a personable guy. Like, you know how to make connections and relate to people. So, I mean, you could have done a million different things. How did you choose the specific avenues that you did? Is it something you read during your thesis project, talking to mentors?
For marketing?
Just to meet, again, like you said, get out into the community, because I think at least that I know, like doing a startup, what did my broker say? Oh, we got this marketing company for you, right?
Yeah.
But
So I was you get creative when you have more constraints. If there's no constraints, anything's possible. But when you have constraints, you have to be creative with what you have. My constraint was I had no money. I just got out of dental school. And I knew social media marketing was and still is pretty cheap. And I said, well, there's Instagram. There wasn't TikTok, but there's Instagram and there's Facebook. And that was pretty much it at that time. But I thought, well, who is my ideal customer? My ideal customer is a mom who maybe has a spouse who maybe has 2 or 3 kids. And the mom is probably like in her 40s. So I said, okay, the average age of a Facebook user is like 42. The average age of an Instagram user is like 28. So my ideal customer is living on Facebook, so I should go use Facebook. And then I thought, well, there's a new dentist coming to town and no one likes the dentist. So let's not lean into that. Who do people like? People like the local coffee shop where they had the first date with their partner. People like the flower shop where they bought flowers for their wedding. People like the gym where they get a workout pump and they get their endorphins going. So I went and I met the owners of the places that people liked. And then I interviewed them, and we had an interview series called, I think it was called Make Reason to Smile or Make Someone Smile. And we talked about things that their businesses did to make people in the community smile. And I was the host in my white coat. So people would tune in to see what was going on at the coffee shop that they really like. And randomly, the dentist would be the interviewer. And then they would tune in to see what was going on at the flower shop or the gym they really liked. And randomly, the dentist would be the interviewer. And all of a sudden, the people that know the coffee shop and like the coffee shop and like the gym and like all these places, all of a sudden they see the owner of the place they like with the dentist who is conveniently right downtown. And that got me known in the community.
Yeah. Do you know who Alex Hormozy is?
Everybody knows Alex Hormozy.
Okay.
Anyone who listens to
Tony asks that question every
anyone who
single
owns a
time,
business
like,
knows Alex Hormozy now.
Yeah.
Sometimes I start talking about him and the person like looks at me with glass eyes.
Anyone
and
who
I'm
owns
like,
a business,
so,
I think, knows Alex Hormozy.
Yeah.
so what I find so cool is that, so that's how I've learned business, is through everything Hormozy, I would say, and then working. But you did all of this probably pre-Hormozy and all these people posting, because like some of these things that you said, I've heard people say in the last year or two.
I learned it from
like
reading. So
you did
the business podcasts weren't so popular. I read books.
Okay.
Books. Like Jim
you
Collins
have
books,
any, like-
classic Jim Collins books. Everyone
Okay.
says Good to Great. That's actually my least favorite Jim Collins book. I like Great by Choice, Built to Last. Those were ones that helped me a lot. So a lot of my business systems are built on Japanese principles that we find in companies like Toyota. So I would read, there's like a really good book that I used called The Toyota Way to Service Excellence. And that was a good guiding reference for me. So I used Jim Collins books and I used like Toyota books to outline.
And you didn't just read the books, you applied all the things that you read too, because that's the other thing I'll see all the time is someone's head is filled with facts, but they don't actually apply anything out in the real world. And
I would go back to our school project. So in the school project, I'd have a section like, we reference this book. This is how you would use the information from this book in a dental setting. And then we would write it, and then I just did it.
Yeah. Do you still have all that?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty nifty. Kind of to bounce back to your first startup. So you designed it in dental school. I know you got I'm sure you got a loan.
Yeah.
And I read on your website or somebody had commented that they did a startup for $70,000.
Yeah. So that was just last year. That was just last year. The one that you're talking about.
And they were like, this sounds idiotic, but they were actually open and seeing patients for $70,000.
Yeah. So that was in Arizona. I know who you're talking about. It was in Arizona last year. And then I think within 4 to 6 months, he was doing 70 grand a month in production. So he's like,
Yeah, that's what it's.
he
Yeah,
spent 70 to open it, and within 4 to 6 months, he was doing 70 a month. And he's doing more now, as that was last year. And it
did he
was
even take out a loan then?
in Arizona, which is expensive, and you can't do it. I think he used a loan.
That I'm in Arizona. Yeah,
Oh,
so
cool.
that
There's
makes me
another
super
guy
excited.
who, his name is slipping. I interviewed him. He did one in Scottsdale for $50,000, $50,000 startup in Scottsdale.
What does that mean? 50,000? Because like
That
real
means that's
estate and all.
they all in cost. Every dollar you spent.
So are they renting? They don't own the real estate. They are
No,
leasing
so
it.
they would be, in those instances, they would be renting the space. They'd be renting the space,
Okay.
or sometimes when we'll say those numbers, that's the cost spent on everything other than purchasing the real estate, because that's a separate transaction anyways. It's a different loan.
Yeah, different LLC probably.
Yeah,
too.
different LLC, different business entity, different loan.
Yeah. Okay. Could you walk through just like real quick, dirty numbers, how we got to 70? Like, because I know I had a buddy
His
just
numbers,
open one.
I'm not privy to the specifics of all of his numbers. So he was someone who took my continuing education class called Practice Launch, which is a 22-hour continuum that teaches dentists how to build or buy their first practice without blowing a bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not in every nitty gritty detail, super hands on, but dentists such as him, they go through the program, and hopefully on the other end, they pop out a business owner who does not have a lot of debt. That's the goal.
Yeah.
A lot of dentists spend like $500,000, $700,000, $1 million on a startup. And like, you could do that, or you could do it for under 100, or you could at least learn how to do it for under 100 and say, you know what, I'm going to go halfway and I'll only spend 300 instead of the 7 I was going to spend. There's a guy in Florida that I'm working with and talking to now, and he originally got a quote from Henry Schein to build out his dental office, and they quoted him like $750,000. And then through some strategic intervention and finding different contractors, we got it down to 150. So that was a savings of 600,000. And then I guess they have really good mangoes where he's from. His name is Mike. Really good mangoes, and he sent me some mangoes as a thank you. So I call him Mango Mike, and those were the $600,000 mangoes.
Yeah,
and that was this year.
That
was actually this year. So we got it from,
because I feel
like Henry Schein's like, it's going to be 750. Don't worry, the bank already approved you for the loan. I'm like, I'm sure they did. Let's not do that. Or maybe you can, but be informed. So my thing's education. Okay. I'm not a hands-on consultant like Ideal Practices, which is a really popular company. Shout out to Ideal Practices.
I've read their book.
A lot of people know them. They're very hands-on. They're going to work with you. Their fee is like $60,000 or $70,000. They're going to fly out. They're going to hold your hand. They're going to help you with everything. I'm not that hands-on. I am an educator. I have an educational continuum program that will teach you how to fish. And then we also have a support group so that you never feel alone during the process. And our support group is very active. And basically, if you ever have a problem, we workshop it real time in a group setting. And then I am basically on demand in your pocket. So if you ever have any questions, I'm available to reach 24/7, basically, email, phone call, or text. I am always in your pocket to help you out if you are one of my CE alumni students. But I'm not going to fly out to do it for you. If you want that, you have to pay Ideal Practices their fee, and they'll do that for you. But ours is way cheaper.
You like their model?
We want to save you money.
So you mentioned just briefly with Ideal Practices, I've read their book and I've gone to one of their seminars here in Scottsdale. And it seems like when I talk to brokers and I talk to other people, and it's at their convention, 750 was like the number that they were basically saying was that's what you're going to be looking at. And I had a buddy open to practice, and same thing. I think he spent $700,000.
Yeah. Well, you're in Arizona, right? So I just told you two people that one did it for 50, one did it for 70.
I am so excited to hear that, because I'm like on the precipice of pulling the trigger and doing it. And I just told my wife, she's a physician and I'm obviously a dentist, and we have all this debt, house, cars. I was like, I don't know if I want to take out another 750 to 1.5, but if I can do something for 100 and then work on it, stay an associate, man, that's a whole new avenue I hadn't even really fully considered. So
we've done that. And sometimes you can get an acquisition like that too,
around there.
I always like to use the outlier examples in the places that people say it's too expensive. So someone I worked with who is in San Diego, and the year
Mhm.
that he got his practice, San Diego was like ranked as the #1 highest cost of living or #1 most expensive place in California or something.
Believe
And I
that.
think he got his practice for 60,000, and in his first year he took home like 350.
Did the dentist like die or something? Like,
No, no, and
no?
no, you just got to know
So,
where to
Wow.
look.
Okay.
so for two young, hungry, clueless dentists
Two
looking into this
hustlers.
field,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
sure, that's the sexy way of putting it. Do you have a preference or based on your experience in terms of startup versus acquisition? Because we've talked to people
Great
on both
question.
ends.
So no, and there's no and. No, and you need to be educated and prepared to do either. I did a startup. I did not prefer to do a startup. I understand that I wanted to live in a certain place, just like I'm sure you guys want to live in a certain place.
Mhm.
And that gives you some form of constraints. Remember, we talked about constraints. If everything's on the
Mhm.
table, it's hard to make a decision because everything's an option. If you don't know if you want to live in Michigan or Florida or Texas or California or Maine, I decided where I wanted to live. I wanted to live in Ann Arbor, and I wanted to have a commute that was a certain distance. So I said, I'm going to go with the best opportunity, be it a startup or practice acquisition that is within this driving distance of where I want to live. For that to work, I needed to understand how to do a startup and I needed to understand how to do an acquisition. So I learned how to do both and I learned how to know if either was a better opportunity so that when the opportunity arose, I was prepared. Because
Mm.
if I was ready for an acquisition and I was thinking acquisition, but there were no good practices for sale, but there's this great real estate available, I had to be ready for that. And vice versa. If there was nothing good
Yeah.
for real estate, but this great practice came up, I had to be ready to embrace that opportunity as well. So I say be prepared and able to do both. You want to go where the best opportunity for yourself is going to be, whether it's acquisition or startup. And if you're doing
I like that.
startup, keep your job part-time so that you still have some cash flow. The average startup does not become profitable, meaning the owner does not take a paycheck. Average startup for the first year and a half to 2 years, meaning you're living off of savings or your associate job. We were profitable our first month, which is the goal for everybody.
That- yeah. No, that's
Where
I actually more than replaced my associate job income the first month of the startup because we had a full schedule and very little debt. And I had
yeah.
a great team member, employee, who I was very fortunate to find that is still with me today. That was like having the right team to start things off. That's really big too, is having the right team.
What did you
that's
start with for staff? Like how many staff?
Me and
Just
one
you and an
person.
assistant?
On day one,
Yeah, that's
really
what I
me and one
figured.
person. It was one person at the front.
Yeah.
I hired an assistant as well. The plan was to start with 2 people, but she no called, no showed the first day of work and I never saw her again. So we had one person.
Oh, baby.
Yeah.
Made it happen on your own, just like
Yeah.
dental school, though. So you
Yeah.
knew what to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she no called, no
Yeah.
showed. I never saw her again. And she, yeah,
Okay.
live and learn.
So, so in the practice, the other group, I'm blanking on their name right now that you mentioned. In their book, they had talked that exact
Ideal
comment that you said about knowing ideal practices.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being ready for either option. And then you just kind of got to be ready to pull the
Yeah.
trigger. So I like that. And is there like a hard and fast thing, or was it for you? I know you mentioned the geography thing. So it's like,
Yeah.
this is kind of where I got to be,
Yeah.
and
So a
whatever the best thing.
couple
Go
things to
ahead.
go to that. So one, think about the money. So if you're going to spend 750 on a startup, let's say, you know what,
Oh,
I
I
want to
don't.
go all out. I want a nice one. If you're gonna, I want a big fancy bells and whistle startup in an expensive area. If you're gonna spend 750 on a startup, you can get an amazing dental practice for $750,000. So if you're
Okay.
going to spend a $750,000, you can spend $750,000 and have a practice that has 3,000 patients or zero. So
Mhm.
if I was going to spend that much, I would spend it on the dental practice that already has patients. If I was going to do a startup, I would consider accordingly that I have zero patients at the beginning. So I would want to spend less and then grow into it over time versus just bombing out your entire wallet and hoping you don't go bankrupt after the second year.
Yeah. Yeah. That I could see that. Do you have like a number? So like, say you had 750,
Mm-hmm.
and that was going to be your practice acquisition number.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is like a reasonable amount around the country that a lot of associates should be able to do a startup for
Sure.
less than 200, 250?
For a startup,
Yeah.
25.
with today's market, I think you can do reasonably. I mean, things are so different. Like rural Montana is going to be different than
For sure.
California.
Urban city.
If I take
Just
an
like
average, I would say you can do a startup today under 150. Again, I've had a guy this last year who did it for 70 in Arizona, but
where do you think, because I've heard the same 755, 750, whatever. Where did this heuristic come from, do you think?
can you ask that question in another way?
Yeah. So the common idea is you need $750,000. You obviously are in the trenches. You have done this and have had multiple successes.
Over 200 now.
Way right. Hopefully there'll be 202 at some point. But like, why do you think that number is 750? And where did you start seeing the pattern that like, hey, no, something's off.
Yeah.
We can do this for way less.
I think the number is 750 because I think that the banker and the broker and the equipment people are all friends. And I think they all know how much you can get approved for. And I think magically by the end of it, you always end up spending however much you've been approved for.
Yeah.
Because
And
I had heard
I
that
think
like,
the goal in a lot of those settings is to keep the dentist spending and move the money from the dentist's pocket to the vendor and the equipment guy and the broker and the contractor. And they usually all refer you to each other.
right.
And they all know how much money you have to spend before you even know how much money you have to spend. And then the way I realized I didn't have to spend that much is I just got a calculator out and said, well, how much does this stuff really cost? And it wasn't anywhere near that. So a classic example is like a dental cabinetry. If you look at like the cost of a dental cabinetry, it's like 15, 20 grand sometimes. And then I was like, okay. And I went to Home Depot and I looked at a cabinet and it was like $105. It's like, well, that's not 20,000. So I'm going to buy this cabinet from Home Depot that looks good and it's $100. So all the cabinetry for my entire dental practice was $4,200 when I commonly see dentists spend over $100,000 just on cabinets, which is more than I spent to build my entire office.
What a ridiculous profession where we spend $100,000 on wooden doors.
No.
That gets smacked around and
And
kicked with
again,
your
I
feet.
had
and-
I had the creativity of constraint because I did not have any family member who was a dentist or a family member who was a business owner. I did not have a lot of money because I was a dental student and I didn't even get approved for as much. Like I couldn't get approved for a big loan, like a practicing dentist, because when I was applying for startup loans, they're like, okay, so how long have you been a dentist? And I said, I'm not. I said, well, do you have any business ownership experience? I said, no. And they're like, we're not giving you a loan, kid.
Yeah.
So I got denied by like 8 different lenders. And then I got like a bare bones approval finally, which wasn't for very much. And I'm like, well, I guess this is what I'm going to use. We did everything all in: marketing budget, professional fees, paying the lawyer, buying the equipment for 80, I think.
What about what was buying, or not even buying, but figuring out the dental? That's supplies, something that interests me. How much composite do you need? What composites? What are you gonna do? You know, like I don't know how confident
Massive
you were coming out.
spreadsheet. So I had like a huge spreadsheet of every item that I would use for, it was part of my project, every item that I would use for any procedure and how much it would cost. And I like price shopped all the different supplies. And I would like see when I was job shadowing for my project, I'd say, okay, so for this patient, we use like two carpules of composite and this thing of algin, it's going to last this long. So I estimated it from that. And my budget wasn't big, so I didn't place a giant supply order. I placed an order of what I thought would last me for a few weeks, and then in a few weeks, I ordered again. And then
Do you still have that spreadsheet?
yeah, it's in the education continuum. All the stuff in that project has been upgraded and cleaned up, and it's a part of the CE continuum that we have.
It's funny. I started this little pet project of trying to quantify the cost of dentistry. Just like how much is a class 1 in terms of supplies? Because like what does UCR?
I
even mean?
actually
What
have
is
a
it
calculator that does that.
Dang it!
I have a
Dang it. So
calculator.
just post it on Facebook and people are like, oh, this is such a great idea. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
I've got a calculator that'll do
I-
that, and you can like change the brand of composite that you get, and then you can say like, this is my fee with Delta, this is my fee with MetLife, and it'll calculate your net profitability for doing that procedure in a certain amount of time at a certain fee. I have that really cool tool that's in like the course material. I don't think a lot of people use it though, but it's there.
it's probably, yeah. Is your practice, what is the payer breakdown right now?
We're a
Fee for
PPO.
service.
PPO.
Okay.
We're all
PPO.
PPO, and if anyone doesn't have insurance, we have an in-house discount membership plan for them.
Yeah. Where do you see trends in current dentistry? So the membership plan is something that I'm sure they've been around, but maybe I'm just hearing about it. But are you seeing any sort of trends? People really, really niching down. Everyone's a cosmetic dentist now.
Yeah.
Things like that.
The trends that I'm seeing is that private practice dentists are niching down. They want to do full mouth rehab or leaning into Invisalign. And then many dentists, another trend are I think going more towards DSOs. Like to work at DSO.
Selling to or working for or both?
Both. Mostly working for them, as opposed to working for dentists in private practice, more working for DSOs because they give guaranteed income, and the new grads have so much debt that it's hard, and they're probably going to have really bad student loan debt terms now with the new laws on government loans. They cap it at $200,000 for lifetime loans, which covers like a year and a half of dental school most places.
Yeah,
which means they're going to get private loans, which are going to have like 9% interest, and it's going to suck.
No, we've had a couple of blogs and a bunch of posts about that topic because it resonates deeply with us. I mean, I feel like I'm not in one of the bad, and I graduated with 330, and so
it's not bad.
I talk to people 6, 7, and I'm like, oh,
still such a ridiculous profession.
So I saw it's like 1 in 5 orthodontists graduates with greater than $1 million of student loan debt now for ortho. 1 in 5.
Yeah,
wow.
Something like that. Maybe 1 in 7.
Then they'll make
something like that. 1 in 5, 1 in 7 graduates with greater than $1 million of student loan debt.
What do you think? What can we as dentists do? And I guess if this is not your opinion, we'll just cut this. But I like to promote private practice dentistry. I believe that's kind of deep at your heart as well. Obviously, in medicine, that's basically gone bye-bye. I think there are like virtually zero private practice, like real cardiology clinics, rheumatology, whatever you name it. So what can we do to not let that happen? Like student loans are going to keep going crazy, stuff that we have no control over as the dentist.
I think it's education. So I think a big reason why we lean into working for DSOs or staying an associate longer than we maybe wanted to. There's nothing wrong with being an associate, by the way. If that's what you want and that's what you imagine for yourself, cool. But a lot of dentists, I talk to them all the time, they want to be a practice owner, or they say they do, and then a year goes by, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a lot of it comes from fear. And in this context, I think a lot of the fear comes from lack of education around the topic. And from my experience, once dentists have more education around the topic of practice ownership and business management and leadership, a lot of that fear goes away. And when the fear goes away, well, what are you waiting for? Let's go.
Yeah. No, I mean, that resonates with me because I was thinking that now that I hear that I could do a startup for easily probably under 250 or 200, it gets me way more open to the idea because like I said earlier, I didn't want to spend 750 or $1 million on something that I didn't know was going to for sure be rocking.
Yeah.
So.
I had a guy somewhere in
New York City buy a practice for $10,000.
Somewhere in Texas. And he opened like a big 7-op practice with a CBCT, CEREC, all the bells and whistles, and he built it out from scratch. And he was, I think, 275. I've only got 4 ops, but he was 7 ops, CBCT, CEREC, all this top of the line stuff, and I think he was 275.
I feel like I've heard the same thing that, you talk to Shine and Patterson, they try and sell you everything, and then they tell you to hit their buddy who's the banker, and then, so it seems
you need their architect, you need their architect.
Right. And from what I've heard, I don't know whether you like local or they're just like, you went to Home Depot. You could probably also find a local cabinet maker that you have broken down whatever goes on in the dental office, at least the physical parts, right, into you could probably find a local or a big box contractor that would do the same thing for a tenth of the cost, right?
Literally a tenth of the cost sometimes. Yeah.
Where in terms of I'm very curious about staffing because
Yeah.
I've been talking to some brokers
Mhm.
and there are some turnkey opportunities that are just empty, built out, but no staff, no patients.
Yeah.
What was your first staffing experience like? You said you have that wonderful employee who's with you, but eventually started hiring more people, or you
Yeah.
found them initially.
Mhm.
Like, I don't even know what to look for, right? The only thing I've heard is hire hearts, not hands,
Mhm.
because the hands can be taught, right?
Yeah. That's great in theory, but you don't in that saying you don't really know what someone's heart is like until you work with them for a little while. I mean, sometimes you
Yeah.
get good surprises and sometimes you get bad surprises, and that's just part of the leadership journey. And it's getting to know people. It's getting to read personalities. It's trying to build up goodwill with your staff and the community so people want to work for you and you have a good reputation. So if someone doesn't work out, you can have someone new who's excited to work for you and happy about it. There's some really good videos on the YouTube channel that I think you might like, Alex, that talk about like staffing pipelines for dental offices. I think you would like those. I'd check them out. I have like diagrams and stuff, and it really breaks down in more detail than I can really get into right here. But I
Right.
think that you'll appreciate it. Just go to the YouTube channel and put staffing, and it'll probably come up.
What is your like? So, what is going on with the practice biopsy? What started off
Yeah,
as vlogs is now in
yeah,
continuum. There's a YouTube channel which I'm
mhm,
going to assume is professionally produced. Not just I'm assuming you're not handling it, but if you are, very cool. You seem like a guy who just loves a million different things, can get interested in everything.
yeah,
Um, where do you see practice biopsy? I feel like we know what you're trying to do, educate, and
yeah,
you're doing a fantastic. Like, I'm going to go on and see what the price of the course is and figure out how the hell I sign up as soon as I can.
yeah.
But, you're doing YouTube. Kind of what else are you looking to do with the practice biopsy?
So it all really comes down to education. I like to teach, and I want people to feel supported. I don't want to own your practice. I want to empower dentists to have the practice that they want and practice the way that they want and be happy when they practice. Okay. So we talked about DSO. What does the S stand for? It stands for support. Somewhere along the way, support became we own the office and you work for us. So I would
Uh,
legitimately like to support dentists through education and other ways that we're able to through practice biopsy. And that might be books, that might be seminars. We are going to be offering bookkeeping and accounting services for offices soon too to help them manage the numbers. And these are all things that we're continuing.
You were gonna like steal my next question I was gonna ask is I downloaded the 25 next steps
Yeah,
that you should take if you're an associate to become an owner.
yeah,
Number 2 on the list was reviewing P&Ls.
yeah,
And my experience has been in 5 different practices. I've had office managers or owners that were very open to showing me that stuff,
yeah.
going through it, showing me how they review it. And then I've had people that would like want to backhand me if I asked them anything about that. If you're in a
Most owners won't let you go through the P&Ls.
yeah.
Yeah,
So how can you go about learning that
yeah.
as an associate so that you don't have to learn on your own cash?
Well, if you're a dental student, you can say it's a school project.
Okay.
um,
That's great.
if you're a dentist, then you probably won't see them in real time. But in my Facebook group, I have posted mine regularly for years, and other dentists do too. But so that was one of the things I did. So when I first started my Facebook group, I would just post all my P&Ls and then say, "Hey, this is what they look like."
Here's what it is. Yeah.
And then in the course, we do break down how to read a P&L, what to look for, and how to make adjustments based on that.
Okay.
And then if you ever end up using our bookkeeping accounting services, we help interpret P&Ls for you, and we look for blind spots and areas for improvement and try to give little insights as well.
No, that's awesome. I like that. And because that was something my first associateship, I wanted mentorship and I really wanted it in that. And so the owner was a private practice and she was fairly willing to show me and walk through those things with me kind of in real time.
Yeah,
But just like you mentioned, talking to other people, it seemed like that was not the norm. So,
yeah, not the norm.
I
so
just
that's
went on your website and I looked at the price. I don't want anyone to say what it is. I just looked at what it is. It is a third to a quarter to as much as I thought it would be. Like it's
Yeah, I know.
less than 33% of what I thought it would be.
I know.
And given what you've told me, I mean, that's incredible. That is an absolute value.
Yep.
Because you obviously have the success stories. And
Yep.
because like, I don't know what, you feel like I hear 22 credits at, a 22 credit implant course, and it's like $15,000,
Yeah.
right? And that's incredible. What was
Because
it
my
like?
goal is to save you
Education.
money
Right.
through education. And if you spend a bunch of money on me, you're not saving a bunch of money.
What was it
Also, I'm
like
doing
build?
fine. And I think that's one of my X factors too. So like some of these service companies, like they need the money from whatever they're doing. I'm a dentist. I'm fine. So I just want to build a sustainable structure. Like we have to have a fee structure which makes the business sustainable because I pay people. But I don't need it. I just really enjoy running this company.
That's like so much what I am with this, like
Yeah.
where I am at with this thing is, it's always been just to help more people, and more people come back to you. I feel like when you help them,
Yeah.
and you can feel good and be happy about that. I had written my number one question that I really wanted to ask you, and this is like a perfect transition into it.
Yeah.
So you've had a good career.
Yeah.
You've had an excellent side business, whatever the heck you want to call Practice Biopsy. What are you most proud of as a dentist?
As a dentist or as like
Or
a dental entrepreneur?
bingo. Let's go with
As the
that.
dental entrepreneur,
Yeah.
honestly, probably the Facebook group. Because the Facebook group was
Relationships.
the Facebook group is where everything started, and the Facebook group is where the relationships are built, and everything that has grown around it is from those relationships and from that trust that we've built over time. From me being very candid, you talked about the production of the YouTube stuff. It has very much been an evolution. Many of the original videos and some of the current ones are just literally me with my phone saying, "This is what I did today, guys." It's just me being authentic and candid and bringing people along with me for my day. And a lot of those people have allowed me very graciously to become a part of their day.
Like making
No,
your mic.
that's rightfully so. Yeah. No, that's an awesome answer. I was wondering if once you had described your Facebook page, I was wondering if you were going to go there. Your practice launch course
Mm,
is wicked awesome as well.
Thanks.
It's on demand. So for all of you 30-year-old or 20-year-old associates out there, it speaks to you like it speaks to me. You don't need to worry about having to do a specific time. So that's awesome as well.
And I'm
Um,
literally always available. Like for the support, it's not like my people, it's me.
you'll get on the horn and answer the questions.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Do
Like
you
you can say,
even
I
do
need
any
help
dentistry?
deciding between this cabinet, and you like text me and I'll help you.
okay.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I do
How
that
many
for
days a
like,
week are you in clinic?
my schedule's weird. 5 days, but like half the days I work, I go home at noon. I like short days.
Dream life right there.
So I work
Yeah,
5 days, but half the days I work, we go home at noon.
and
You
then
have an
go work
associate?
on.
Sometimes I go work. Sometimes I just pick my kids up from school. I just go work out, hang out. I've got a lot of, so part of the philosophy as you learn more about the Practice Biopsy business philosophy is building lifestyles that are happy and where we don't feel stressed out, because there was like a critical observational moment for me years ago when I think it was like USA Today put out this report of the best jobs in America, and dentist was number one, and it had been number one for like 4 years in a row. But then also I read the report that like dentists are really depressed and commit suicide. So I'm like, this is supposed to be the best job in America. So
Yeah,
something's not
yeah.
adding up. Something wasn't working. So I engineer the lean dentistry principles through Practice Biopsy, not just through like business efficiency, but it starts with building a practice that will sustain a life where you're happy and don't want to kill yourself. Like I can work. People say, when do you want to retire? How long do you want to work? The way that I work, I mean, as long as my body holds up, which I hope it does. I mean, I could work till I'm 80. Like if I won the lottery for $100 million tomorrow, I would be at work the next day, like prepping an MOD, because I set things up where,
You're happy.
yeah,
You do what you want. You get
yeah,
time to see your kids.
yeah.
And that's another thing. I mean, you've had so many things today that have just like, I feel like, man, you've got like this like hook into my heart, and you're speaking to it, because that's another thing. I was like, I'm going to stay an associate because I value my work-life balance. And the more I've thought about it, there is no work-life balance. They tell me when I'm working,
Yeah.
it always ends up being longer days than I expected. I
Mhm.
only get what I produce out of it. And then I talk to owners and I'll see that, like, I work 3 days a week and I do the schedule I love. And a lot of this has just been like, you just need to get there and design it and in advance, like you did, and
Yeah.
then work your way towards it. Like all big goals in life.
Um,
Yeah.
mhm.
So I like that. That was all the
What?
major questions I had
Yeah.
for you. Did you have any other questions, Alex?
I'm just curious what your upbringing was like, and if you ever had a moment where college, high school, dental school, you're like, I'm different. I'm different than my peers. Because I feel like, I mean, again, it's a bell curve. Most people are in the middle. There are some on each tail, but they can be in different things, some
I
whether it's
I don't
intelligence
know.
or drive.
I don't know if I ever felt like I had a moment where I felt like I was different, but FOMO, like fear of missing out. I
Yeah.
never had that ever. So if someone was like, "Oh, these people are gonna do this, or everyone's gonna do this, or this weekend we're doing this," I never cared about that ever. Like even now, and I almost have
Mhm.
JOMO, the joy of missing out. I really just I really have always had like this block where I don't really care what anybody else is doing in the capacity of me wanting to join in, which gives me very clear vision of what do I actually want to do. And then I lean into that.
Good way to
And
be
then
happy.
I make sure that I'm like actually like setting myself up to do that. I was
No,
weird though.
that's
When I was a teenager, I used to like listen to self-help tapes on my headphones, like on my iPod. My middle school and high school iPod would have like self-help tapes by Tony Robbins. And that was weird
Mhm.
for a kid. I don't know.
Were you an athlete when you were younger, or like in any sort of extracurriculars,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
high
yeah.
achieving?
I played sports pretty much every single day. I wasn't like on the high school basketball team, but we had like a city basketball team that I was on. And my sister says that's because I don't like to be on a team that I'm not in charge of. So I organized and recruited and managed the city team. And
Nice.
the school team, you got to listen to the school. So I didn't know. I
So
played sports all the time. I was really into basketball, football, and then just like sport weightlifting as well.
right. It just seems like whatever I'm like, oh, you do your way. Everyone does it their own way, but you do it to the highest level,
Nice.
which I think is completely different. And I'm just curious. I found that these people, it's not like you got to dental school and saying like, oh, I'm going to do this project, and then you ended up opening a practice. It's probably like, hey, I actually was curious, and you don't have to talk about it if you don't, but like your relationship with your parents,
Yeah.
what that was like growing up,
Sure.
like, these habits come from
Yeah, I can
somewhere.
get into all this stuff with you. Like I said, I've got all night and I'll talk about any topic. So I have a great relationship with my parents. My parents actually live 10 minutes down the street. They were very supportive, still are. My dad was a physician assistant and my mom was like a homemaker, stay-at-home wife. And they pretty much supported whatever I was interested in as long as I like leaned into it and they would support me in leaning into it. And I wanted to be a dentist and I wanted to be a practice owning dentist. So when we talk about leaning into what I wanted to do, I visioned myself as being a practice owning dentist. So from the first year of dental school, I was like, okay, how do I become a practice owning dentist? Let's get this practice open. And I just
Mhm.
leaned into that immediately. Like I wasn't thinking about what residency I was going to apply to. I wasn't thinking about where I would have a job. I just thought about, well, I want to be a practice owner, so let's do that.
It works so good. And it's funny, wherever you put your attention, you tend to find success, or at least that's been
Uh,
my experience in life. And if you
mhm,
spend every waking moment thinking about it,
mhm.
probably the other 90 practice owners in your community are maybe not spending as much
Yeah,
time. So yeah, you're going to win that battle, or win in your practice, I guess would be a
yeah,
better way to say that.
nice. Alex, do you have any more like questions that are on your mind while you got me?
I mean, a million, but
Do it, man.
I
I'm here. Kids are
honestly,
asleep.
honestly,
I'm here.
here's do you know, Tony, did you tell DeAngelo what you first thought of him? Like when you texted me?
Oh
So
man.
Tony Tony made some post. I do remember what the post was, Tony. No, it's just funny how social media makes
I
people
don't.
look a certain way.
He probably thought
Tony
I
made some
sucked.
post. Yeah, and Tony texted me also. I mean, Tony gets
So you're
butthurt
one of the
on
only
the
people that
internet all the
routinely
time.
comments on posts, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so, yes, but go ahead, Alex.
I think something you said like rubbed Tony the wrong way. Like you almost made us feel like we don't know what we're talking about, and we had no idea who you are. And looking back, we don't know what we're talking about. I mean, it's like you obviously. I mean, I'm gonna within the next month buy whatever the practice launch because so I'm done the DSO thing. I hate my life. Like I'll be honest, I complain to Tony all the time, and I'm looking at acquisitions and then recently because the startup thing because that's what I heard $750, you know, and I'm looking at a specific price range with acquisitions. Now talking to you, I'm like, hey, my thing against startups was always why add a dentist if a dentist is trying to leave and I'm preventing them from going corporate, right?
Yeah.
Or a corporation to buy them.
Yeah.
But you know, now I'm going to rethink the whole startup thing because it doesn't have to be that way. But then I'm also looking at associate opportunities and there's this one, it's like a group practice, a private owned. And I asked the guy, he's got 6 practices. I'm like, hey, are you planning on selling to corporate? And he's like, they offered us X amount last year. And I said, no, I've got partners. And they kind of suck you in with, you know, you work hard and we'll make you a partner, which like is great. You get stake in something, but you never actually build it. And I feel like even if you have an acquisition, you are still building it. You are the 100% owner. And, you know, I'm getting the longer this goes, I put in my 90 days at my office and I don't even think I'll be able to last that long, to be honest, before I pull my own hair out. But the longer this like acquisition game goes and I'm seeing the numbers, I'm getting scared. And that's what you keep talking about, fear preventing people because of lack of education. And, you know, now I'm kind of back on the, okay, I'll buy something or start something up if I can do it for cheaper. And cause it's like, you know, we're in the business sense, me and Tony were starting the educated associate and we have to deal with people like you who have the practice biopsy. It's kind of the same deal where like, it's scary competing against people like you. I'm competing against this guy who has 6 offices but I have really appreciated how obviously nice and giving and caring you've been. And you're obviously like that as a human being, given that you've done it. It's having these conversations. I can just never thank people enough for you've got kids, you've got this, you've got your actual practice, you've got a wife, and you decided to give us an hour of your time. And I just honestly, from the bottom of my heart, wanted to say thank you because this stuff is invaluable. And hopefully anyone else that hears this, you know, for that kid who was going to go DSO and be an associate has now like that thoughts in his mind, like, hey, I can do it too. And I think that is a very powerful phrase that gets lost in this very competitive and dog eat dog world.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And I'm sure you're wondering what I texted Alex. So I'll go ahead and say,
I've got thick skin.
you had commented on something and I had misinterpreted what you said. And then you actually DM'd me and you were like, again, I don't remember all the fine details, but you were basically like, blah, blah, blah. And I figured out we were both on the exact same page.
Yeah.
And it was
I remember
promoting
whatever we were
private
talking
practice
about,
dentistry.
I actually agreed with you.
Yeah. And we were agreeing in retrospect, but it was one of those things where like texting, I always tell my wife, like, you can't read too much into text because there's no emotion in a text message. And that was exactly what had happened. And I just wonder how many times I've either misinterpreted something somebody told me or they misinterpreted whatever I was trying to say. And then we talked more and you've commented on more of our posts. And I just knew that you were not like because there are some dentists in dental clinical pearls that just get on to attack people.
I know.
And yeah, that was not you. You were actually providing helpful
all right,
feedback.
Guys, you can hash it out. I'm going home at noon.
Yes. Yeah. And you're like, are we really still arguing about this?
Yeah.
But no. So yeah, it was just that. And I think it was partially kind of like Alex was kind of saying, I'm like, man, here's this guy that's clearly ahead of me in my career. He has this alternative opinion. Am I wrong? And then you get that, like, I don't know if shy or being pushed down is the right word, but you kind of feel like, oh, man, maybe I was wrong. instead of just kind of finding that middle ground, realizing that we're on the same page, and then getting the idea out there to everybody else.
Heck yeah.
So for you, you started this way before us. How did you deal with negative people commenting, negative people chiming in on your posts?
What do you think you know? Who are you to tell us how to do things?
To me, none of that stuff really landed because most of my posts, as you read them, they're literally just what I'm doing. So it's
Yeah.
very hard to disagree with it because
With
it's
your-
literally what
yeah.
I'm doing. It's like what I did today.
Fair.
Here's my
Yeah.
schedule
So,
today,
no, you
guys.
didn't.
Argue
Yeah.
about it.
Okay. So more, this is what I did. You didn't say like, this is the right way to do it necessarily.
No,
It
I'd
was
say
just
this is what I did. So I remember Dental Town, I used to be really active on there. And I remember when I opened my office, I was like, hey, I opened an office for this much. And they're like, no, you didn't. So I took a picture of the receipts and the invoices, and I posted all the invoices and receipts and tallied them up,
good.
like screenshots. And then the guy just got mad.
No one
Like,
chimed back.
like it's not an,
Like,
I'm
what do
just
you
telling you what I
think
did.
I'm getting?
Yeah.
What do you think I'm getting by lying to you on
No.
the internet?
I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, so
Well, people do.
As you guys spend more time in the Practice Biopsy group, like there's someone else like a couple months ago posted their P&L, and someone commented, I find this hard to believe. And you're like, do you know how much effort it would take to create
To falsify it.
fake
Yeah.
financial profit and loss statement documents to post them on a Facebook group and have them all add up? That would take so much work. And it was posted
Just to get a
anonymously
reaction.
too. There would be no point. And you're like, what do you mean you don't believe it? This is just someone's schedule, like thing they posted
But they
about
printed off their
month.
report.
So
Yeah.
again, so the thing.
No, but I love that.
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
just post what I'm doing, what I did, and what I've done. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, and then you're right. No one can say anything really about that. So that's awesome.
I'm out of questions.
Yeah.
I'm just like, after all these conversations, I'm rearing to go. I'm like,
Go,
I know.
man.
screw
Let's be
everyone
like that
else. I'm
too.
gonna open up in St. Pete
I'm
tomorrow. Like,
I do have one more for you.
St. Pete,
yeah,
I've got connections in Florida. I'm ready. Christmas break.
we'll be in
You
touch
tell me.
in the new year.
Let me get you one more question before I guess we shut her down.
Yeah.
If you are going to look at an acquisition or a startup, roughly how much time should people have their heads wrapped around? 12 months for a startup, 18 months? Like what?
Usually from the time you start, from the day you say, I want to be serious and own a practice, usually 12 to 18 months.
Okay.
Sometimes it
That's
can be
what I've heard.
faster. So I was working with one guy, his first name was Jamal, who he's like, okay, I want to practice. And he signed up for the course. And by the end of the next month, he owned a practice. I'm like, how'd you do that so fast? He's like, I just listened to the videos every morning and then I bought a practice. They're like,
Right away.
congratulations.
Boom. Yeah. So yeah,
So there's a range.
like everything, the range. But I just wanted to see, because we had talked about the ranges of money, and I'd always heard 500 to 1.5 million to do a startup. And so I was curious, are those numbers 12 to 18 months? Because that seems to be the oft-cited duration of
12 to
time.
18.
If you had an opinion like, no, that's BS, you can do it routinely
I mean,
in
it can
6.
be faster. I mean, there's ways to shortcut the times. If you do an acquisition, the reason it takes time is being patient to find the right opportunity. If you find the right opportunity next month, then you're like Jamal and you own a practice next month. But if you're waiting and depending on the market, it might take 14 months for the right thing to pop up. But once you find the right practice, and doing your due diligence takes a couple weeks, and then you sign the contract. Acquiring a practice takes a couple weeks. Finding the right
Just
one to
finding it.
acquire is what takes longer. If you do a startup, your time is in the construction. It takes a long time to build this thing. I mean, we started building mine when I was in school, and it wasn't done when I finished school, and then I worked somewhere else, and then it was finally done. We had an estimated opening date. I remember our estimated opening date was going to be April 15th. We ended up opening November 17th because there's always delays with construction.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, we need to rebuild the bathroom. It's off by an inch. Okay. That'll add a month.
Yeah.
Like there's
there's another guy on social media, Dr. Nick Constanzo or something, Limitless Dental's hit brand. But he kind of posts along these lines with his startup. And so, yeah, he had to redo a bathroom or something because of an inch off on the angle, and a wheelchair couldn't go in. And yeah, it was a disaster. But Really appreciate you taking the time out of a Tuesday. Like
Anytime,
Alex
guys.
said, you got a million things going on. I too am going to be buying the practice launch continuum. Yeah, I am the 5-year out doc that has kept saying and waiting for the right time.
Yeah.
And like most things in life, there probably is no perfect time. The perfect time was yesterday.
Yeah.
Time to just pony up and go for it, I think.
And before we go, where can people find you? Just tell us everything.
All things Practice Biopsy. So practicebiopsy.com, that's our central hub, which has the links to everything else. But if you're a dentist, I recommend you join the Practice Biopsy Facebook group. That's where we have a lot of daily conversations and daily behind the scenes.
Awesome.
You're the
Definitely
man.
do that, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks again, Dr. Webster. This is awesome. What's the weather like in Michigan? Are you guys in the negatives?
Lots of snow and it's really cold.
Well, we're in the opposite. This is
Yeah.
the good time of year to be in
Yeah.
Scottsdale and in
Yeah.
Florida. But
It's cold. And there's
yeah,
lots.
we feel the pain the other times of the year. Well, thank you again. You're an awesome guy, and I will be leaning
are you.
into you with my practice.
For
Yeah.
sure. All right, Tony.
Talk
All
to
right,
you soon.
Alex.
Thanks, DeAngelo. Have a good one, man.
You guys have a great evening.